Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. So glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about my June wrap up. I had to think about it for a second, like, why am I here? June wrap up. Sorry for being a little bit late with it. Life happens sometimes and you just don't have time to film anything. But today we're going to talk about all the books I read in June. I had a really good reading month in June, reading and listening, because I did listen to quite a few books, but nothing below a 4-star. So a really good reading month. This month I did read my absolute favorite, one of my absolute favorite genres, which is gay romances. First off, real quick, before we get started, I have been struggling to read this book. This is The Disasters by PC and Kristen Cass. They are a mother-daughter writing duo, and I absolutely usually love their work. I love The House of Night, but this one is just not doing anything for me. I'm trying. I started it in May, and I struggled, so I put it down for the month of June. But then by the end of June, I kind of picked it back up. And I just can't. I can't get into it. I am over halfway through, so I may pick it up, you know, sometime in the near future. I don't know. I did DNF it on Goodreads, but I'm going to keep it on my shelf and just see if I want to pull it back out. One thing I do like about this book, the illustrations in here are beautiful. I don't know if you can quite make out with my lighting what we got going on in here, but it's not a graphic novel, but it's like sort of a graphic novel. It's got like beautiful illustrations throughout the book, just to kind of give you an insight of what the characters are and what they're going through and things like that. So that's one thing I do enjoy. I have been enjoying about this book. Just looking forward to the illustrations on whatever. It's not on every page, but I've really been enjoying that aspect of it. But as far as just the story itself, I'm just not into it. It's not a bad story. The writing is fine. I mean, it's their typical writing, but I'm just not into it. So I just wanted to, because I know I've talked about it before, and I said I was going to pick it up in like July, but I don't think I'm going to pick it up. Not right now. Maybe in the near future. But basically, it's about these teenagers that were genetically manipulated at birth, sort of enhancing some sort of power over the elements. So they have, like, so the couple that we're reading about in this book, in The Disasters, have control over air, and they're looking for all the other elements out there. I think that, is there 5 elements? Earth, wind, fire, water, or is there 4? 4 elements? Shoot, I don't know. But they're looking for all the other teenage couples that have control over those elements. And I really don't know what the point is, though. That's all I know, that they, you know, and they're running from the person that actually did this to them at birth, or I think it was done like in the embryo or whatever. He's like sort of like a mad scientist kind of thing. So I don't know. It's just, I think the story is just not interesting to me right now. Maybe later. So I'll go over my 4 stars first. The first one I'll talk about, I'll go ahead and talk real quick about the BFF series. I read the second 2 books in that series this month. I read the first one probably back in the beginning of the year, and I just never picked up the other ones, but I wanted to read Pretty Things this month by Devin McCormick, and I found out that that book is linked to the BFF series. So I wanted to finish the BFF series before I got to Pretty Things. So I added 2 more books to my June TBR, which were BFF Claimed, which was the first book, which is the second book. The first book is BFF, Best Friend's Father. And that's, you know, that's the kind of intro. You get to know all the characters. The story is revolved around Eric and Jesse. Jesse is best friends with Ty, Ty is the son of Eric. So yeah, so that's the first book. So it's just Jesse and Eric, you know, discovering their feelings for each other, and then realizing that, you know, is a big age gap there. I guess it's about a 20-year age gap. And of course, you know, that's his best friend's father. So it's sort of like a forbidden kind of thing, which is what drew me into the book. And plus, I love Devin McCormick's writing. I did give the first book 5 stars because I just love getting to know characters. And usually first books in a series for me is my favorite. In this series, the second book, Claimed, I was not that into. I enjoyed reading about, I apologize, I listened to this one. It was read by Michael Pauly. He is fantastic. I've listened to other books read by him. He is just phenomenal. He puts so much just passion into his words, and it just brings the book to life. And I absolutely love his narration. So if you have not listened to any of his books, I highly recommend checking out anything that he has narrated because you will love it regardless. But yeah, he narrated Claimed, which is the second book, and it's basically just getting more into Eric and Jesse's character. Ty was sort of in the background of this book, but it was mostly just talking about Eric's past and his struggles and what he deals with, and a little bit of Jesse's past. He's also had sort of a rocky past, which you get most of that in the first book. So this one's mostly about Eric, which I enjoyed reading about. It was just, nothing else was really going on. It was just mostly about Eric's past and him trying to get through it, Jesse helping him. But I still loved reading their stories. So I did give this just 4 stars though. Third book I did read, and that was the BFF Forever book. I gave this one 5 stars because it involved a little bit more to Eric and Jesse's story. It wasn't as, not that the second book was dark, but it was just a little dark. I mean, it had to do with a little bit of child abuse, sexual child abuse a little bit. But the third book introduces Ty a little bit more, and something that he's currently going through, which leads into Pretty Things. And we also get a new character, Liam, in the third book, which is also going to be in Pretty Things. So I'm glad I did go back and read those, although I do think Pretty Things could be read alone. But I think you would get a better idea of the characters if you read the BFF series. Jesse and Eric are in Pretty Things, but they're sort of in the background. So I enjoyed Best Friends Forever, which was the third book, much better than the second book. Again, it was mostly Jesse and Eric's story and how their love was growing, but it just had a little bit more. It wasn't so dark and sad like the second book. I did kind of throw in a 5-star there. But it kind of went with what we're talking about. So yeah, I did give the third book 5 stars. So we'll move on to Pretty Things, which I did give 4 stars. This cover though, y'all, it's beautiful. This man on this cover is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. I think I'm going to have to buy this book just to have this on my shelf if I ever want to go back and just look at it. Just look at it. So Pretty Things was a little bit different than what I've read as far as Devin McCormick's writing. I'm sure he might have something similar to that out there. I haven't read everything that he's put out there, but it's definitely different from what I've read from him, which was nice. Although it did kind of slow for me in the middle, but then it picked back up towards the end. So it took me a little bit longer to read this one. So in Pretty Things, we get Ty and Liam's story, which I was super excited about because I love Ty's character, even though he wasn't, like, for the second book, he wasn't there a lot. He was there a little bit more in the third book, but I really wanted to get to know him a lot better. And then when we discover Liam in the third book of BFF series, I got intrigued with him and I wanted to know what was going on with him because he was like a little shady. So you get their story and you get Liam's story. It's mostly about Liam and his background. It does have a little bit of FBI vibe to it. So if you're not into that, that's kind of what, like, I didn't know. Usually I'm okay with that. But I got a little bored. I will say I did get a little bored in the middle with it, but it started to pick up for me towards the end, and I did have lots of feelings throughout this book, like just like not anger, but I was just frustrated with Liam, and you know, why is he being so shady? Why doesn't he want to get close to Ty? So of course you get all that throughout the book, but I so enjoyed reading their love story. Their love story was beautiful, and I loved it, and I just enjoyed Ty's story. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars only because it just kind of slowed down and made me a little bit bored right there in the middle. And my last 4-star book is Blindsided by Eden Finley. Also a beautiful cover. This is, I believe, the 4th book. I didn't write it down, but it's the 4th book in the fake boyfriend series. But this particular book did not have to do with the fake boyfriend trope. These characters were introduced, I want to say, in the 2nd book. I can't remember the name of that one. I will link the series down below if you want to check it out. I enjoyed all these books. I love all the characters. I loved reading all their love stories. I definitely highly recommend you start from the beginning. So Blindsided, we get the story of Miller and Talon, and they were actually introduced, I believe, in the 2nd book. So this has nothing to do with a fake boyfriend. We just wanted to hear more about Miller and Talon's story, so the author kindly gave us their story. These books are also based on like sports kind of series. Talon and Miller are pro football players. Miller has been in love with Talon for as long as he can remember. Although he didn't quite know it right away, when they had to split up and go on, I think that's how it was, they had to split up and go on different teams or whatever, or Talon left to play on another team, he realized that he was left with a big hole in his heart, and he was missing Talon, and he didn't realize that those feelings were a little bit deeper than just true, like just friendship. So he gets the opportunity to play on Talon's team, so of course he takes that opportunity, and him and Talon are together again, but he doesn't want to, like, you know, mess up their relationship, as far as like he wants to keep him as a friend, if anything. But little does he know, Talon feels the same way. So definitely a little bit of a slow burn, which I enjoy because I don't want them to immediately get together, because it's just not realistic, because they're both, well, Talon feels like he's straight, although something happens, I believe, in book 2 to question whether he's straight, bi, or possibly just full-on gay, and he's been questioning himself ever since that. But if you go back, I think you can read this series or this book as a standalone, but if you want to get more information about what all the other characters are coming from, or where they're all coming from, who they are and who they belong with, because you know they're all linked together, I highly recommend reading the whole series. I think you would enjoy it. But yeah, Talon and Miller's story kind of starts back in the 2nd book, which as I was reading, I was realizing, oh wait, this happened in the 2nd book. So you kind of get, so she's kind of taking where she introduced them and like keeps going with their story. So I thought that was really clever of the author to do that. And I really enjoyed their story, the slow burn of them getting together. I gave it a 4 stars, only because, just again, I kind of felt like I got just a little bit bored with it. It was a lot of miscommunication, and I was just like, if y'all would just talk, all things would be good. Just talk about it, sit down, let him know your feelings, stop dodging, you know, that kind of thing. I just got a little annoyed with that. So, but that's it. Other than that, I truly enjoyed the book. Okay, we'll dig into the 5 stars now. So I have a lot of 5 stars this month. First up is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Universe. Absolutely loved this story. I did listen to this on Audible. It was narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Hope I'm saying that right. Did a fantastic job of the characters. Could definitely knew who was who, and he just put all the feels into his characters, and I cried like a baby in so many parts. I just felt for these characters, mostly for Ari, who is Aristotle. He's called Ari in the book. So this didn't really have like a plot or a storyline. Definitely yes, a storyline, but there was like no plot to it. It was just a beautiful story of Aristotle or Ari and Dante just discovering themselves, their friendship, maybe more in their friendship. I liked how it was read. It was sort of read out of like a journal. It's like Ari's telling his story, and it was just beautiful. So, but the book starts off when Ari's like 16 years old. He's just struggling with himself, just trying to find himself, figure out who he is. He doesn't really discover who he is or his feelings till the end of the book. But I enjoyed everything that led to that, him getting to that point and discovering everything. He does have sort of a sad history. His brother was put in jail years ago. He was very close to his brother. So we get to learn more about his brother a little later on and what he did. And so Ari starts to like feel that relief in his life, and I think that's what kind of was bringing him down throughout his life, because he does seem like just a very sad young man. He starts, I think does it start at 16? Maybe they're 15. By the end of the book, I believe he's coming into his like 17th birthday or something like that. So it's just like a couple years. It's like it starts off in the summer where he meets Dante. Dante moves to his area. And they meet at like the local pool, and Dante starts teaching him how to swim, and they just become very good friends. Dante has to eventually go off, as his father is a teacher, and he finds another job somewhere, and so Dante has to leave. I believe it's in Boston or something like that. I'm not. I read this at the beginning, or I listened to this at the beginning of the month, so it's a little foggy, but it was just a beautiful story of them two. So they were apart for a little while, discovering themselves, but they still kept in touch. Dante realized he was gay before Ari realized he was gay, and Dante confided in Ari and even talked to Ari about his feelings, and it was just, and Ari was fine with it. They remained friends. It was just beautiful. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just a beautiful love story between these two young men that grow together from friendship to possibly more. When it was over, I wanted more of their story. It ended too soon for me. I want to know more about Ari and Dante. Cried like a baby though, just because I just felt for them. I was rooting for them. I felt for Ari and his struggles. I felt for Dante and his struggles. Just a beautiful, beautiful book. If you have not read it yet, please pick it up. You won't regret it. Next we have Autobiography by Christina Lauren. I absolutely love this too. Definitely 5 stars. Definitely another beautiful love story between two young men. So in this book, we follow Tanner and Sebastian, or Seb. So Tanner ends up taking some sort of like writing course in high school, and Seb is the teacher's assistant. Am I saying that correctly? But Seb is also a Mormon. So another sort of forbidden romance that I absolutely love. I did listen to this on Audible, but it was read by Deacon Lee and Kyle Mason. So we have 2 narrators for each of our characters, which I love. But we mostly follow Tanner. He just recently moved to Utah. He was out and proud where he was coming from California, but he's sort of a little bit back in the closet when he moves to Utah. He's bisexual. So when he meets Sebastian, he's attracted to him immediately, but I believe at first he just wants to get to know him and just wants to become friends with him. He does know that Sebastian is a Mormon, but they befriend each other, and their friendship starts to grow. Tanner learns that Sebastian does really like him, but he's keeping it very, very much to himself because it is forbidden. It's not that it's forbidden, but it's not understood in the Mormon religion, I suppose. But when he's alone with Tanner, he gives in to his desires, and they start to fall in love with each other. But Sebastian knows in his heart that it's not it's not supposed to be like that. And he's supposed to go on his retreat and become, you know, like a man and get ready for marriage and all that good stuff. So it's just a very, very sad story on his part, not being able to come out or feel like he cannot come out to his family and be accepted, where Tanner's family accepts him fully. And it's just, I just really felt for them, and I cried, again, cried so much listening to this book. The narration was beautiful. Just a very, very sweet book. Highly, highly recommend. Next up, I read or listened to this book, Red, White, and Royal Blue. Absolutely loved it, by Casey McQuiston. I found out when I was reading her little author, about the author section, that she's from Southern Louisiana. So I just thought that was super cute. Great debut novel. The hype is real. Definitely worth it. If you haven't read it, you must. It's so adorable. So we follow the story of Alex, who is the son of our very first female president in the year like 2020. So this is sort of like near future, takes place in like near future time. And he and Prince Henry have sort of a kind of hate relationship, sort of like they hate each other, although we find out later that they don't specifically hate each other, but it is understood in the beginning that they are not very fond of each other. So Prince Henry is, of course, the heir to the throne of the Prince of Wales, or whatever you want to call it, from England. An incident happens in the beginning where they are sort of forced into like this publicized friendship to make them look like they are friendly with each other. The countries are friendly with each other and whatnot, which leads us into a beautiful little romance between Alex and Henry, and I just adored every minute of it. I loved the fact that there was a free female president in this. It was so fun to read. I loved their little story. I loved them together. I loved all their little adventures they went through. They traveled back and forth to see each other in secret, and I just loved every friggin' minute of it. It was quite a long book. I did listen to it. Like I said, it was narrated by Raymond de Ocampo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but he did a very good job on the characters. I could definitely tell who was speaking at what time. His English accent was amazing. Just loved it. If you have not read this yet, definitely pick it up. These two, of course, didn't really have any sexy times with them. I don't know if that's a thing that you like or don't like, but they were still just beautiful stories about two young men getting together. This one, Red, White, and Royal Blue, did have a bunch of sexy times that I adored. It was not graphic at all, but I loved them together, and it just made me smile. Another young adult is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. Absolutely loved this. Another 5-star. I devoured this book. It was pretty thick. I did read this one, but it only took me a couple days because I did not want to put it down. Every minute I had, I was reading this book. Absolutely loved this little story. So we follow Ben and Arthur in this little story, and they first run into each other as Ben is heading to the post office to deliver a box to his ex-boyfriend, a box full of things that reminds him of his ex-boyfriend and the relationship that they had. And he runs into Arthur on the way there. Arthur is new to this place takes place in New York City. Arthur is new to the city. He is only there for the summer with his mom at his mom's firm that she works for. Ben, on the other hand, is a resident of New York. So it was a very sweet little summer love story between the two. Arthur seems to be like just a very positive, upbeat young man. Ben, on the other hand, has like his little doubts, just not as positive as Arthur is. But they don't exchange phone numbers or names or anything. I think maybe Arthur knows Ben's name. So Arthur created a cute little way to find Ben, to sort of reconnect with him and to find out if there was anything there. The brief little contact that they had at the post office just left him wanting more. So he went out on a little journey to find Arthur or to find Ben. I get their names mixed up. So that was super cute. And when they found each other, they go on like these multiple first dates because their dates don't end up like the way that they want them to end up. But they really do like each other. So again, a super cute summer love story. I wasn't really happy with the way it ended, but it still gave me just all the feels. I loved reading every minute of it. I cried at certain points. I laughed a lot. Arthur is just a hoot, and I just loved his character so much. But again, another great read. If you haven't read it yet, definitely pick it up. Next up is Upside Down by N.R. Walker. I loved this little book so much. This is a story about two gay men who are also asexual, and I have never read anything like this, and I absolutely loved it. N.R. Walker is a new to me author. I've never read anything of him, but I will definitely, or her, I'm not sure, but I will definitely be picking up other books from this author because just the story was just so, it was just written so good, and you could feel the feelings that they had for each other, but you can all like, I don't know how to describe it. I just loved it. So like I said, I've never read like a asexual type of romance. So this was very different for me. It was very refreshing to read, actually. There are no sexy times, of course, because as asexual men, they are not interested in sex. They just want a companion and just a relationship with someone else that they can just enjoy their time together. So we follow Jordan and Hennessy. Jordan is a librarian and he is hilarious. His favorite word is MFer. I'm not gonna say it, but he blurs it out every other word, and it's just hilarious because his personality really comes out on the pages, and I just chuckled a lot at his character. And then Hennessy is just a more down-to-earth kind of guy. He has just left a relationship that the other guy wanted more, ended up wanting more than Hennessy could give him. So the relationship ended. Jordan and Hennessy sort of meet on their bus rides to work, I believe. Or no, after work. Jordan first kind of discovers him and calls him Headphones Guy because he's always wearing his headphones and listening to whatever he doesn't know. So he doesn't have like enough nerve to confront him or whatever, but so he just sort of silently watches him on their bus rides and just kind of like admires him from afar. One day his best friend encourages him to go to this group meeting about asexual people, I guess. And the head of the group is, of course, Hennessy. So this is where they meet, and this is where their friendship starts to bloom and a relationship starts to come out of it. And I just adored every minute of it. I know I've probably said that about every single book here I've mentioned today, but this one by far was probably my favorite, I will have to say. Because I just thought it was just so interesting, and I loved their relationship, and the fact that it didn't have to do with any sexy times. It just had to do with just them discovering each other and loving each other's company and wanting to be with each other that way. I just thought was just beautiful, and I highly recommend this read as well. Last but certainly not least, Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. Okay, I said Upside Down was probably my favorite. No, this was my favorite read of June. Then I'm gonna say Upside Down, and then possibly Red, White, and Royal Blue. Do I really have to rate them that way? Definitely 5 stars. This was my first read of June. This was the first. In fact, I picked it up before June started because I got too excited. So looking forward to read this. This duo also wrote one of my, by far, favorite gay romances, a little series. The first book is Him. The second book is Us. Absolutely love it. I know I've mentioned it before, but they also did an amazing job with Top Secret. I loved it. If you sign up for Serena Bowen's like emails or newsletters, I want to say, she sent out like another little sort of epilogue to Top Secret a little bit more to Keaton and Luke's story. So that was a fun bonus. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, so this follows Keaton and Luke. They are frat brothers. They live in the same like frat house together, but they sort of have like a hate relationship. So another little hate to love kind of trope. But they meet each other through different names over this hookup app. So Keaton's handle is lobster shorts. So every chapter that he is on, there is a little lobster. And then Luke's chapters or his handle is center 3. So his sign is like a rock and roll type symbol for when he's telling the story. So it's from both their points of view, which I love. I love when you can get both sides of the story and see how each other feels about the other one. But it all starts off with Keaton's, at the time, girlfriend wanting to kind of spruce up their relationship and add a third person to the bedroom. So she wants Keaton to look for this third person, and she wants it to be a guy. So he goes off and he goes through these apps and through these dating apps to figure out what he needs to do. How does he find another guy to come into the bedroom with them? You know, it's a little weird at first, but then he starts chatting it up with Center 3, and they just become really close through this dating app, and they go back and forth. They don't know who each other are, and they just go back and forth with each other, and they start to both of them sort of start to realize that maybe they don't want the third person. Maybe it should just be them two. So a cute little story, and between two guys. I absolutely adored Luke. I don't know, he was just so cute. I loved their story, and I loved their little dating app romps that they had, and just when they got together, it was even better. So highly recommend this book. Lots of fun, sexy times in here if you're into that. Just saying. So that is it, y'all. I listened to a lot, I read a lot. Even though I don't have the full stack here, it was a great reading month, and I absolutely loved every single book. Let me just throw my Nook on top of that. Absolutely loved everything I read this month. I am ready for some good thrillers though, so if you want to see what I'll be reading in July, I'll link my July TBR down below if you haven't seen it yet. Of course, who knows what else might pop up in July that I want to read. But if you have any recommendations for me as far as like gay romances go or thrillers go, whatever it is you think I would enjoy, list them down below. If you've read any of these books I mentioned, let me know your feelings about them, what you thought, if you loved them just as much as I did. And yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. As always, all my social medias will be linked down below. Come follow me on Goodreads. I'm always doing my reviews. I try to keep up with what I'm reading and put up some reviews for everything. But that's it. Happy reading, y'all, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.